Hi, my name is Barb Nangle. I'm the founder of Higher Power Coaching and Consulting. I want to welcome you to my podcast, Fragmented to Whole, Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. This is episode 47, Be Prepared to Lose People. One of the things that has become crystal clear to me in recovery is that I need to be prepared to lose people. To some of you, this may seem patently obvious because people die and we're going to lose people. People move, friends fade away, we leave our jobs, our coworkers leave their jobs, people relapse in recovery. One of the things that has really sunk into me in recovery is that I need to be prepared for this. I say that because this is one of the many things that I can look back at my life before recovery and see with crystal clarity. Here's what I was thinking, here's what I was doing, and here's what my motives were. While at the time, I was completely blind to my behavior and my thinking. I was really not prepared to lose people, despite the fact that I had lost people my entire life. I really did not hold on to friends for any length of time. I stopped using the term best friend probably in my early 20s because it was just too painful. And my experience was that best friends change, which is not exactly a quote best friend. My groups of friends changed over time depending on where I was working, where I was living, what was going on in my life. Inside, that was really painful for me. And it was almost like I lived with this open wound. And as I'm speaking, I'm realizing that that open wound was the wound of abandonment. I really hadn't put that together until I just said that right now. What's happening for me in recovery is I've become whole. I'm whole. And therefore, I'm not looking for someone else to complete me. I'm not looking for someone else to fill in the gaps. I'm not looking to anyone else for anything else besides my higher power and myself, that is. I didn't know I was looking for someone or something else to fill all those gaps before recovery. And this has reminded me of the saying I heard when I first came into recovery: you have a God-sized hole in you. In other words, the hole is so big and of a shape that nothing but God could fill it. And you've been trying to fill it with people, substances, relationships, money, belongings, whatever it is that you're in recovery for. But now, between me and my higher power, I have everything I need. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, I need other people, but I don't need them the way that I did in the past. And that means that I'm actually prepared to lose people. This means when people die, I know I'm going to survive. People are gonna relapse and I'm gonna survive. I'm going to be fine. As much as I hate that people in recovery relapse, I need to see that shit. I need to see it happening because that could be me, and I need the reminder that I am one moment away from relapse at any time, or at least potentially one moment away from relapse at any time. And remembering that I'm going to lose people keeps my eyes on the prize, which is the 12 steps of recovery. It keeps me focused on recovery. There have been a few people that I have been very close to in recovery that I have lost. None of them died. They've either left recovery or left the program I was in with them, or they relapsed. And it was definitely painful, but not anywhere near as painful as that kind of thing would have been in the past. A couple of years ago, there were 3 different people in 1 year that had become very close with me and very important to me. And all of them left. One of them even blamed me personally for leaving the fellowship. And each one of these was painful. The first person that year to leave was probably the most painful, partly because she'd become my closest friend in both of my recovery programs, and in fact was the person who 12-stepped me into my second program. It took me about a week to really recover from that. I cried every day, but not all day, every day, like I would have in the past. And if that had happened to me several years prior, it would have taken me down, probably for about 2 years, based on the depressive episodes and the incidents of my past. But it was about a week. Now, that doesn't mean it didn't bother me after that, but I wasn't really upset after a week or so. A few months later, when the second person left, it was really difficult and I was a little wobbly for a few days, but I was really clear. I'm whole. This does not take away from my wholeness. And then when the third person left, I realized that that had been a codependent relationship that was unhealthy. And it was actually a relief that they were gone. It really wasn't painful. It was just time for that relationship to end. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't value the person while they were there. In fact, I got a ton of recovery from this person who had been in another recovery program for a really long time. I learned a lot about recovery in general from them. And I know that they learned a lot from me too, but our time was done. And this is making me think of that saying that people come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I'd say all three of these people came into my life for a reason, two of them for a season, and in some ways, they will all be with me for a lifetime because I grew and changed tremendously from their presence in my life. And I also grew and changed tremendously from their absence in my life. Believe me, I had to do a bunch of step work on all of these situations with my sponsor as well as on my own. But I have step work to do about these kinds of things. In the past, I had no tools to deal with the ups and downs of life. But now I do. So I don't spend time lamenting these relationships the way that I used to with prior losses. In fact, for the longest time, I prayed for each of these people every single day. And I still occasionally pray for them from time to time. Because now that I'm in recovery, I understand I can't blame other people for things anymore. I have to look at what's my part in these things. I have to own it and I have to clean it up. The other way that I've lost people is that I've made friends with people in recovery and they leave the rooms of recovery, but I've stayed. And it doesn't mean I don't want to be friends with them, but I spend a lot of my time either with people who are still in recovery or people who never even needed recovery because I need to be around healthy people. I cannot be in the midst of people whose lives are full of chaos, who have no boundaries, who are unpredictable and inconsistent. That's where I spent my life before recovery, and it got me into recovery. So I can't do that. And that means I have to be prepared to lose people. For some of the people I've lost, it means I've lost them entirely. And for others, it means I just hardly ever see them. I hope that it's helpful for you to hear this. I felt like I should talk about this on a podcast because this is one of the things I find myself repeating often to fellows in recovery as a way of sharing my experience, strength, and hope with them. Because I see that so many of us drag around this belief that things should stay the same. People should stick around. We shouldn't lose people. And maybe we're not actually saying we shouldn't lose people, but we may be thinking it subconsciously. I know I was. I didn't realize it until recovery. I had somehow assumed that things shouldn't change, that relationships shouldn't change, that people shouldn't fade away. And if they did leave, then that meant there was something wrong with me. But the reality is life is about change. Change is growth, and growth is what distinguishes living things from non-living things. Growth is life. And when you're in recovery, chances are high you're gonna lose people, not just to death, as everyone does, but to relapse or just fading away, or to differences of opinion or lifestyle once you clean your life up. If you spent your life around people who are addicted and compulsive and dysfunctional and you want to clean it up, you're not going to want to be around those people. And guess what? They're not going to want to be around you either. And sometimes these are people we've had lifelong relationships with. Sometimes they're family members. If the choice is between my sanity, serenity, and a clean, sober, abstinent life, and my relationship with you, I pick me and my clean, sober, abstinent life and my higher power rather than you and your dysfunction. I really hope that helps to hear my journey of understanding that I really need to be prepared to lose people. Take care, my friends. That's it for today. If you like what you've heard here, then you just might be interested in private coaching with me. If that sounds like you, head on over to my website, which is higherpowercoachingandconsulting.com, and click on the contact menu. I'd be happy to schedule a consultation with you to help you make lasting changes in your life, like I've made deep, lasting changes in my life. My ideal client is someone who is ripe for change, but I'll coach anyone who wants to be happy, joyous, and free. So if that's you, shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe so you can be sure to get future episodes of my podcast. Thanks again.